I've spent decades navigating the diverse corners of the upstream oil and gas industry, from boardroom battles to witnessing the occasional fistfight on rigs, from petroleum club negotiations in backroom between oil men and financiers and lawyers. My career has carried me through airplanes, airports, research labs, development projects across every North American basin and most significant plays in developing countries worldwide. Through years of watching production trends shift from the Eagle Ford here in the US to the Marcellus, back to the Permian, I've learned one fundamental truth. While headlines focus on investment dollars and corporate narratives, the rock always has the final say. The stories we initially hear eventually settle into more grounded reality than what is presented in press releases or investor calls. Today's data tells a story that few of us saw coming, a tale of two basins heading in different directions. The numbers don't lie. While the Permian Basin struggles with geological realities, the Bakken is quietly outperforming expectations relative to the dire predictions that it was cast initially with. Recent Financial Times reporting confirms that Trump's tariff policies are creating significant headwinds for both basins, with oil prices potentially plunging below $60 a barrel for a time, triggering concerns across America's shale patch. Ironically, in some of the reddest parts of the country that voted overwhelmingly for these policies. North Dakota's Bakken Formation, which pioneered much of America's shale revolution, now finds itself wrestling with these falling prices. As Tracy DeLisle, a commissioner in Dunn County, North Dakota, one of the top producing areas in the Bakken, told Financial Times, she says, it's just scary. There'll be some job losses. Some businesses are really going to feel the effect if prices keep dropping. So the county received nearly $40 million in oil and gas tax income last year, more than half of its total revenue. So, yeah, the Bakken is not matching the Permian's raw output. The Bakken produces roughly 1.2 million barrels per day now, compared to the Permian's 6.5 million. But the Bakken's resilience is noteworthy given its maturity. The Bakken's production peaked in 2019 at 1.4 million barrels a day, and that was under the first Trump administration, interestingly, and it's projected to decline sharply in the 2030s, according to some Wood Mackenzie studies. State officials have warned that without technological breakthroughs, production is on a path of terminal decline. Meanwhile, down in West Texas, the story grows more concerning. The Permian Basin's, America's oil juggernaut, is facing an unprecedented geologic challenge. Recent Reuters reporting reveals U.S. producers are grappling with geologic limits as the country's top oil field ages and produces more water and gas and less oil. Industry experts are now openly discussing whether the Permian may be nearing peak output. To quote one expert, we've never been in a position before where we were on the back half of the inventory story of the Permian Basin. That's from Novi Labs head of research, Brandon Myers, who was speaking to Reuters. The relentless drilling to reach record production has exhausted the core of the Permian's two largest sub-basins. Nearly two-thirds of the Midland Formation's core has been drilled, and slightly more than half in the Delaware Formation. The economic implications are profound. Both regions face the double whammy of geologic constraints and policy headwinds. The White House has called for prices to fall further, with trade advisor Peter Navarro suggesting $50 oil would help tame inflation. Well, that's a call that's rattled the U.S. shale sector. To quote another industry expert, if production drops and the price drops, it makes more things difficult, said Daniel Steinberg, head of economic development at McKenzie County, another top producing county in the Bakken, where 85% of the population voted for Trump. The new tariffs from the Trump administration on imports of steel and aluminum used in drilling and pipelines are exacerbating an already bearish outlook. Matthew Bernstein, Rystad Energy's manager of upstream shale solutions, called Trump's tariff policy, quote, one of the biggest headwinds that's faced industry in a long time, adding that if sustained and if it's recessionary, then you're looking at potentially no growth from U.S. oil this year, end quote. So North Dakota is especially vulnerable to falling crude prices and slowing production compared to Texas and Louisiana, which have more diversified economies. A shrinking inventory of wells and an increasingly consolidated, financially restrained industry has slowed drilling in the Bakken. Technology may offer some salvation, though. The state hopes that a relatively controversial technology, which is not all that new, it's being used in West Texas, called carbon dioxide enhanced oil recovery, or CO2 injection projects. It injects gas into wells and it reaches hard to reach oil reserves and could extend the Bakken's lifespan. A state commissioned report released in January estimates that carbon dioxide injection could unlock 5 to 8 billion additional barrels over the next 30 to 50 years from the Bakken and add up to $9 billion in tax revenue within the next decade. Now, the Permian faces its own technological challenges. The gas to oil ratio has risen steadily from about 3,100 cubic foot of natural gas per barrel of oil produced, or 34% of production in 2014. And it's risen to 4,000 cubic feet per barrel, or 40% in 2024, according to the EIA. This rising gas production requires additional infrastructure and cost. Now, it's offset by some revenues, but still, it requires substantial preparation to handle and manage this additional gas production. But even more challenging is the water situation. Drilling on the Permian averages about 4 barrels of water for every barrel of oil that's produced, while in other basins, the ratio is closer to 1-to-1, according to B3 Insight data. The water-oil ratio can rise as high as 12-to-1 from wells drilled on the fringes of an oil field, creating a significant disposal challenge. And of course, there are much associated costs with this. To quote an industry insider, the Permian is as much a water and gas business with oil as a secondary product there. That's from Chris Doyle, CEO of Civitas Resources, one of the newest entrants in the Permian Basin. And he said this on his company's fourth quarter earnings conference call in February. The message becomes clear. Adaptation is non-negotiable. Tomorrow's winners won't be those drilling the most wells, but the smartest wells. Technology, efficiency, and disciplined capital allocation form the new currency in an industry evolving faster than conventional wisdom acknowledges. As one industry veteran put it, I would never bet against the Permian, but the data suggests that both the Permian and the Bakken are entering a new era where geology, economics, and policy will test the resilience of America's shale revolution like never before. I'm Mark Roach, FutureWise Energy.